talent on the pitch is second to none.
What a shot! My goodness, Trevino! A monster!
So, how was your Tuesday night? Welcome to SDH AM. John here, you there. And we're going to spend a lot of time today talking about the NWSL coming to Atlanta by 2028 season. We've got some sound. We got a lot of sound from Arthur Blank. We have sound from Commissioner Jessica Berman. Tyler Pilgrim's going to join us coming up in just a little bit in his standard slot. We'll discuss everything that's going on there. Yes, you're going to hear drilling in the background, and you may even hear a dog. What we heard Monday is what we're hearing Wednesday. They are working on the deck once again above my head, and they're pulling bolts out and nails out and putting new stuff in. So we're going to try and talk over it and talk through it, but we still have a lot of sound to get into. So a lot of talk on NWSL to ATL. There were a lot of folks that have already bought the gear. There are a lot of folks that have already put down the $50 for the season ticket pledge. And right now, I'm just going to say this. With the season ticket, the seating capacity in something of a 100-level Mercedes-Benz Stadium set to be about 28,000, I think that they're going to skyrocket past that. I think you're going to have to end up at the very least in season number 1. I think at the very least you're going to have the lower configuration that we are used to involving Major League Soccer available to NWSL Atlanta. And that probably is going to be just the beginning. It would not surprise me in 2028 if the entire house was open for the first home opener. And you have shown in the collective that when big events are involved, and it doesn't matter what it's attached to, but since we're speaking on the women's soccer front, when you have She Believes Cup in Mercedes-Benz Stadium and you clear north of 50,000, those kinds of events, you're going to open up the entire thing, or you're going to open up the one side with the curtain, and you're going to end up in 50 or 55 range. I wouldn't be surprised if by the time that all of this is discussed, say 2028, that the lower configuration that we have with Mercedes-Benz Stadium is available for NWSL Atlanta. So like I said, we got a lot to talk about there. We've got your thoughts. I want to find out how many of you have bought the gear. Raise his hand. I want to know how many of you were at the event last night, might have seen what's going on, all the things. That's going to be hour number 1 for the most part, probably drifting into hour number 2, discussing ramifications and such. And then next week, we've already reached out to some of our OGs to kind of come back in and discuss, since it will be the end of the semifinals. Traditionally on Tuesday, we have KCD come in. We'll have her discuss what's going on with the NWSL. We reached out to Jen Hildreth. Probably we'll have Jen in on Tuesday as well next week. Try to figure out. She'll be in next week. I'm aiming for Tuesday, considering that Monday is traditionally what Monday is, with Abe and with Bart and with Gabe Schrei, as we will have anointed a champion in USL League One. So Monday will be normal. Tuesday, KCD dropping in, looking for Jen Hildreth to come in to discuss all of this, but we're going to talk a lot about it in hour number 1, probably drifting over into hour number 2. 10:30, we are going to be joined by the folks, part of the folks that are putting together the Corpus Christi franchise in USL League One. It's a part of our conversation that we like to have involving the roots of the game. Corpus Christi FC is joining USL League One. So we're going to be joined by a couple of members of the front office there to kind of find out about Corpus Christi as a market, to find out why League One, to find out where they are in their list, to find out about Corpus Christi as a market, all those things that we like to get into. So that's the show this morning. A lot of NWSL to ATL, Corpus Christi FC at 10:30. That's today. Tomorrow, reminder, we're not doing an SDH AM because the Tata Martino reintroductory press conference is happening at 10 o'clock, I believe. So Maddie, Jason, and I will be at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground, gathering up all of the intel. We're anticipating a pretty big crowd. And so we'll have that for you in an SDH PM along with Jason Stevens. That's going to be tomorrow afternoon at a time TBD. We'll keep you posted. So it'll be a lot of Tata and Jason Stevens to discuss what's going on. Remember the conversation we had about Atletico de Madrid? That might end up being part of our conversation that we have with Jason Stevens. So SDH PM tomorrow, no SDH AM. A lot of Tata plus Jason Stevens and getting you ready for Friday. Friday, where's my list? It's behind me, of course. Friday, once again, what you normally have on Thursday, the Power Hour slides to Friday. Nino and Nico, 10 o'clock and 10:30. That's on Friday now. And then we're going to set up hour number one, get you ready for the weekend across the board with all the qualifiers, all the things, and have you all prepped and ready for that. So that is where we are for the remainder of the week. A lot of NWSL to ATL today. Corpus Christi FC at 10:30. Tomorrow, SDH PM, no SDH AM. A lot of Tata and Jason Stevens discussing the business and economics of soccer. And then Friday, Power Hour, 10 o'clock to 11:05-ish is going to be the same. It's going to be Nino and Nico. And then we'll figure out hour number one, get you ready for the weekend. So that is, you see how messy, for those of you watching on the video side, that's how messy things have gotten. Messy with a Y, not messy with an I. So that is where we are with everything that has happened this week and everything that is set to happen and everything that we are chasing. So that's where we are. How are y'all? Busy day yesterday, all across the board. And it was a great day for the sport here in Atlanta, and it is a conversation that has been had here, and it has been had basically since 2018. You had Arthur Blank having these conversations with Mike and Jason. You've had Arthur Blank unsolicited, literally. Arthur would give he'd sit there and say, look, I want to do this. Talks about it with Mike and Jason. It's not a question they asked. Information he volunteered. Same thing on MLS Cup broadcast to national and international television. Goes into the booth, has a conversation. He brings up women's soccer on his own. So this is how far back we are in this conversation. 7 years. And it has now come to this point, and we'll find out the why now. We'll hear from Uncle Arthur in a little bit here in the show. But like I said, we're going to hear from Arthur Blank. We're going to hear from Jessica Berman. And the really cool element that was kind of buried in the bottom of it has to do with the NWSL Foundation and seed money coming from Arthur Blank and the Arthur Blank Foundation having to do with women and injuries and recovery and all of those aspects that haven't really gotten a lot of attention when it comes to research and implementation of ideas to make sure that the best athletes on the planet can be the best athletes on the planet 24/7, 365. So we'll have that as a part of our theme today as well, with the NWSL to ATL coming up here in 2028. Expansion fee was $165. That is being reported, and it looks like published reports have it as another $165 invested in infrastructure, facilities, training elements, all those kinds of things. So you are looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of, in 2025 dollars, a $330 million investment to make sure that NWSL and ATL is what Arthur Blank and what AMBSC want it to be off the ground running. You have franchises that are coming online in the NWSL. Once again, we talked to KCD about the semifinals, and you have the Final Four coming up this weekend, championship next weekend in Major League Soccer, in the NWSL. And all of this stuff leading down this road. So you get to the Final Four in the NWSL. You have the announcement last night of NWSL to ATL in 2028. Now, it is quarter after, which means one thing. That means that we find out how many cups of coffee this guy has had after a late night and a cold night. Oh, man, it was cold. We'll bring in Tyler. So what cup of coffee are you on, sir?
Number 2.
Attaboy. All right. Is it a special blend, or is it just straight up, straight down, gas station, go and flow? What are we looking at?
No, this is the Starbucks. What is it? Holiday blend. Sorry, I'm tripping. I got confused because I was thinking they actually have a Thanksgiving blend, which kind of throws me off. As a Pilgrim,
because yes, I was going to say, do they start selling it in July?
Yeah, along with the pumpkin spice.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's like a holiday blend, and we found that I think it was Costco, and I'm not one to go and like be like, hey, coffee, go try it. I gotta say though, this one's pretty solid.
So coffee, go try it.
Yeah,
I see how this goes. You look at, and we were getting into, and I imagine that much like me, you are still trying to thaw out from last night.
Yeah, I was waiting to use that line because I'm freaking cold. It was so bad. I couldn't feel my toes when we left last night, and that is no exaggeration.
No,
it was bad.
It was weather in the 40s, and it was a great environment. And to see the star of one of the stars of Buford girls basketball past, Andrea Carter, MC the thing. I wanted to wander up to her. Selfishly, I wanted to wander up to her and goes, "When was the last time you talked to Coach Durden?" Her high school coach on the phone. It's like, when was the last time you talked to Gene Durden? It's great to have Andrea here. Andrea, because she says she's now focused completely on basketball, she can completely nerd out and be a fan when it comes to NWSL ATL. You look at the vibe last night, and we'll just walk through the evening. You look at the vibe last night, red carpet at Interlock in, what is it, West Midtown? Is that what they call it these days?
Yep.
I call it
West Midtown.
On that side of the freeway, for me, it's Northwest Atlanta, but okay, West Midtown. All right, I get it. So red carpet event, great event for Arthur Blank when it comes to discussing empowering women. And you have this announcement at the end of it all with Uncle Arthur, with Commissioner Jessica Berman, with Cindy Parlow-Cohn, with Mayor Andre Dickens, and the circular nature of 17 being the franchise that's attached. That, to me, that was symbolism that was inescapable after last night.
Yeah, you can't take that away no matter what, right? That is something that, and whether look, Arthur said last night, they've been having these conversations for a couple of years, but I don't think in any way that this was on purpose. I just think the universe collided in the best way possible. That's what I'm going to believe anyway.
I mean, look, it's everything happens for a reason, and when 17s are attached in Atlanta, it's very, very cool. I was getting into a bit of the dollars that are attached here. Looks like the fee was $165. Published reports have another $165 being invested in $2025 to make sure that NWSL ATL has their own training facility, that they have their own infrastructure, everything. And people were sitting there and going, okay, well, we think it could be in one of two places. It could be either on the grounds itself, because they had purchased some acreage toward the freeway.
Yep.
And so it's basically in the backyard. If anybody has ever been to the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground, it is in the backyard of where everything is right now. Or there was discussions about there's some vacant land on the way in as you're driving on the right-hand side of the road that it could be completely and totally blown out and could be its own separate thing. So there are options that are available, but you're talking $330 million to launch this by 2028 to make sure that NWSL ATL is another shining example of what franchises should be in their respective leagues.
Yeah, I think, the big question was always going to be where, and I know it's kind of been thrown out and discussed a lot over the years, because I mean, people have been clamoring for this for a while, and every time we're at the training ground, we kind of look at that big plot of forest / swamp that's in the back corner, and you're like, that'd be a good place for the women's headquarters. And for my understanding, and this is not something I've been able to go, and maybe I can research this today, but from my understanding, that whole big plot of land back there is owned. It's the same property itself,
right?
As what's currently built on the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Training Center.
Right.
It's just never been cleared out. It's just a plot of land. And, the way that it's laid out, there is a very convenient parking lot that just needs one exit to be the entrance down into what could potentially be this new training center for the women.
You just get an easement. You sit there and you go, hey, what about, can we get an easement for this particular piece of construction? I'm sure that wouldn't be too bad.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I really think, like, when they bought this, they left room to grow. I think that was the entire point. And so I would be shocked if it was not placed at the same location. It would be kind of wild for it not to be.
Yeah, and so I said it was a couple of years in when the franchise was when the franchise came online, training facility, etc. There had been that mention of that property in the quote unquote backyard, and so they would have the women's team of the future would have their own section, their own stuff, and then basically the headquarters and the parking lot would be kind of like the mid ground. So you could have the parking lot go one way to the backyard, and you're looking at the women one way coming back toward the roadside as we know it. Then you're focusing on the men's team. So that real estate is there, and $330 million in 2025 dollars is looks like that's going to be the number that's attached. We talk about expansion fees, and you mention Bay and Boston. Mercifully, they are no longer Boston Nation.
Yeah.
And it was 55 for Bay and Boston to get in the door.
Yep.
Now with Denver, it was listed at 110. And so those three on the board, anticipated that it's going to Foxborough for season 1 because they still have construction and finger pointing issues that have to be addressed in Boston. So season 1 for Boston is going to be in Foxborough. Season 1, and as we know right now, season 1 is going to be at Mile High for Denver Ascent. And we know that that they will have their own, they will have their day where they will have their home opener and thousands of people will go and upper decks will be happy and all this kind of stuff. And all I'm going to say is this. Boston's going to have their day in Foxborough. Denver's going to have their day at Mile High. But I'm going to say this because I'm halfway down my first cup of Mountain Dew this morning. I will guarantee that whatever figure is put together by Foxborough in their home opener or Mile High in their home opener with Denver Ascent, that NWSL ATL in 28 is probably going to exceed those two numbers greatly when it comes online in 28.
100%. 100%. We throw around the word bet a lot on Scarves and Spikes, and usually that's followed by beard or something. My wife might kick in the door in a second, but I would just about bet my beard that opening day for whatever version of the not Atlanta United, but the Atlanta women's team that shows up that day, that attendance is going to be, I won't even say
astro-freakonomical.
I know it'll exceed.
Yeah.
I think it's how packed is the building going to be. Like, how many more people could you maybe fit in there? That's my thing.
The fire marshal is going to be an important dude on that day.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean,
it's the fire marshal out.
Yes. Well, it's like, excuse me, Mr. Fire Marshal, sir. How many more people can we let in? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. How'd you do it?
Standing room.
The mezz should be completely and totally standing roomed, and that's the kind of day I envision. And to have that kind of a day and that kind of a week for the NWSL, it will continue to sit there. And so this is what you have here in this country when it comes to this particular sport. And it's going to be right in the middle of that cycle. You're coming off of the cup that the world is chasing in 26. You're going to have the announcement for 31. And so right smack dab in the middle of that, you're going to have 26 championships that's going to be played there, the world championships of the world where a cup is concerned. That's going to happen in 26 because I don't know if we can say the phrasing. I don't want to get people mad.
Yeah.
And it was taken off the air. So 26, you're going to have events in there where the cup is being chased by the world. 28, you're going to have NWSL ATL kickoff, getting you ready for 31, which will be the cup chased in that particular side of things. And if, once again, with U.S. Soccer's headquarters being in the Southern Crescent, with a new NWSL franchise in that same building, and the cup that the world is chasing in 2031 in this country, it's everything is lining up once again to reinforce where the United States is when it comes to soccer in general, and where the NWSL and women's soccer is positioning itself right in the middle of that cycle with NWSL ATL at 28. It gives you something to look forward to as you get to 31, where there is, people are they're spitballing that the championship game for the cup that the world is chasing in 2031 is being considered for that particular building in 6 years' time. So everything momentum-wise is leaning in that direction.
Yeah, and then you have to include by proxy, just the popularity gain, I guess you'll also get in 2027 from that one, even though it's not here. Anytime a World Cup comes around in general, you naturally have more eyes on it. There's just more exposure everywhere. So with that happening the year prior to NWSL Atlanta kicking a football, I think you also piggyback a little bit on that. So like it really just is successive years. I mean, because after they kick off in 2028, then you have, but look, if we keep up this momentum, by 2030 they'll have a championship, and then and then 2031 they'll hopefully be playing a game in their own backyard.
Yes,
that is widely considered the most important sporting event in the world.
Yeah, and I know that Ricky is mentioning 28s doesn't have the same ring as 17s, but still, you are the 17th franchise in the NWSL. So I think that you are still a 17, regardless of when you come online. I think that it's safe to just say that 17s are 17s and that everything's going to be fine. You don't have to say 28s, or you want to say, yeah, we're the 8s. No, that's when traffic and weather happen. Traffic and weather
on the 8s.
On the 8s. You're a 17, so the symmetry of the 17, I think, can stay the entire time because you were team 17 in this league. But it's going to be a fun ride because, and this is a conversation that I'm going to have with Corpus Christi at 10:30, and it's a conversation that we have when it comes to all the franchises that we talk to. Just because you're coming online at a certain time doesn't mean that you can sit there and go, yeah, I'm going to have my second cup of coffee. We'll be right back. We'll think about things. No. There has been talk leading up to this moment, and they're further down the road than a lot of folks may sit there and think of just having a scarf revealed by the commissioner of the league and everybody wearing scarves on a dais. They're further down that road than you think because 28 is going to be here before you think.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to happen between now and then. And I mean, look, we talk about the training ground. That's a big question. And then one of the things that Arthur said last night as well was, they're not just taking from Atlanta United to kind of create something. This is like they'll use the lessons they learned from building Atlanta United. But this is, I mean, the amount of hiring that's about to start happening for AMB is going to be insane. And going back to the training ground, so I pulled it up. I was curious.
You pulled up the training ground?
I did. I pulled up who owns it. And the plot of land next to it that we were speaking of. It is, in fact, 2 plots of land, both owned by none other than Atlanta United Football Club, LLC. So there actually already is an easement off of the main road.
Okay.
It goes back behind the turf practice field.
Yep.
Back into that little swampy area. So I would imagine if it were me and I were in charge of this.
If it was the Tyler Pilgrim Department of Transportation and Construction Company.
Yeah, you would have your nice Atlanta United entrance to the training ground, right? You have the logo out front.
Right. As we have, yes.
Yeah, you drive slightly past that, and then there is unnamed NWSL Atlanta team, also their logo with a separate entrance. And then at the back with the parking lot that we talked about, you just connect the two inside, and there you go. It's all in one little spot. And it's actually a bigger plot of land than I thought. It's almost on par with the size of the current training ground.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's not like they're gonna lack space.
Yeah.
It actually, like, is way bigger than I thought. So,
I know, and you got to clear out some trees, and you've got to
yeah,
even
for
out
sure.
some real estate and things like that. Because if I remember correctly, there's a lot of dips and there's a lot of dips and drabs that kind of lean downward below the surface level of as you're driving past it on 75. You see it, but there's some below real estate that you've got to terrace out. You got to make sure that it's even.
Yeah, it's a little over 17 acres to put it into perspective.
Welcome to construction. Welcome to construction down here on a Wall Pass Wednesday, by the way.
Yeah, for real.
Uh,
Yeah, so there you go.
I mean,
Maybe that'll be it.
Yeah, and so you're going to get some trees cleared. It's going to be in the backyard as we know it. That's what we would anticipate anyway. And I know a lot of folks are looking at names. I think it's safe to say that we know what the color scheme is going to be. Some of the early stuff on the gear that everybody bought yesterday, raise his hand, involving NWSL ATL. It's a little bit of a softer gold. It's a softer gold. The white is more prevalent, and that's the initial color scheme. I know that it was 9 months in when Atlanta United had their name figured out, and you had the big presentation as such. Because Major League Soccer owns those names, the naming rights that you lock in, that's why Orlando City didn't have Orlando City and Orlando City Women. That's why it was Orlando Pride. It had to be a separate branding thing as we look at it. So as much as a lot of folks may sit there and go, United Women, it's going to be Atlanta or whatever it is. It's going to be its own thing. It won't be Atlanta United Women like we see overseas.
Yeah, and in a perfect world, hopefully related to in some way, right?
Yeah.
Like you keep the branding as much as you possibly. I mean, and that's where Orlando did it very well. I mean, you have Orlando City, you have the Lion. So then, the women's team's called the Pride. Like it just makes sense if you can keep it all. Don't go out and name this like, I don't know, Club de Foot Atlanta or whatever. Like
Joey Saputo would get mad at you if you did that, though.
What's that?
Joey Saputo would get mad at you if you went.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah,
Atlanta.
I
mean, it's going to be close to it. It's going to be
Yeah.
mirrored in. It'll be a more than just a wink and a nod. It'll be you'll understand the attachment for whatever it is. I know that. I think Jason and Maddie went down the road last night a little bit on Atlanta Soccer Tonight. They were discussing it. What do you do? Do you do something like where NYC or New York, New Jersey is Gotham? Yeah, and I was thinking, so they mentioned that would Atlanta's be Empire FC or something like that, the Empire City of the South, something like it would have to be that kind of an equivalency if you were looking at Gotham for New York, New Jersey. It'd have to be like Empire if it was Atlanta. Those kinds of things you're looking into, and I'm sure once again they probably got like 38 people in a glass encased rectangular soundproof room with a matching glass table and a bunch of chairs and a couple of monitors already looking at that stuff.
Yeah, and with the instructions that you're not coming out until we get a name that everybody likes.
Well, bring in the food, people. That's how this will go.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because we just threw this out on Twitter the other day, and I mean the amount of names that have come in. I mean, Phoenix, Firebirds, Peaches.
Jared has mentioned Apollo. Jared has mentioned the old Apollos, and he was thinking you go Athena.
Yeah, and see that's a deep cut that I think is super cool.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, Spikes. I see like in the chat, saying 5 stripes because that is definitely not trademarked by MLS. The Conquer is one that kind of fits because of Unite and Conquer.
Yes.
There's so many. I mean, there's so many that you could really come up with. The Magnolias. I mean, that's like kind of a long name. But it's it's a flower.
Well, you could go Magnolia FC. I mean, if you wanted to do that.
Yeah.
But then people sit there and go, "What?"
Yeah, why? Yeah.
It's and then, but I mean, there's plenty of different directions you can go, and so I would say, so if it's 9 months from now, you're looking, oh, well, there's something happening in June and July next year. that's going to be here that has to do with
Yeah.
soccer. Maybe there's some kind of concurrent announcement with
It all fits.
the
Wow.
the last event that happens in 2026 involving that cup that the world is chasing. Maybe in accordance with that last event there in July, which would be 9 months from now, there's some kind of a to-do, as the kids say, where you get to announce something like this, and you're that much closer to what's going on in 2028 with NWSL ATL. This whole calendar thing is just locking itself in. It's just kind of sitting there and going, hey, well, if we do this here and we do this here and we do this here, everything just kind of is in a straight line that they've been looking at for about a year and a half. I'll guarantee you. It's like, well, if we do it here and we do this here, and so everything has been there. There's a reason, as the kids say.
It's as if Arthur Blank has done this before.
I don't know. It's strange that that this gentleman might be thinking three-dimensional Vulcan chess while the rest of us are sitting here trying to figure checkers out.
He knows a thing or two because he's seen a thing or two.
Yeah.
And he stayed at Holiday Inn Express last night.
Yes, absolutely true. Where is the closest Holiday? That's probably the only place he could have gotten to with all the traffic that we were trying to fight to get out of the building.
Yeah, that was wild. Fun event though.
Yeah, no question. To be able to see people on stilts and not lose their footing in that weather last night in the mid 40s, I give them full credit.
Yeah.
You have that hot crowd last night, and what I mean by that is in the sports parlance is that they were completely engaged in what was going on. And you have this new moment now for the NWSL. You have this new moment for Atlanta. You have all of this stuff going on, and it's just this juggernaut that Arthur Blank and AMBSE have pieced together when it comes to recognition of the sport on a bunch of different levels. And I'm looking forward to the next 2+ years as everything comes online and you're sitting there saying, okay, that's next. And I wonder where that dry erase board is in that hermetically sealed glass conference room for the next thing that they can check off the list to sit there and say, okay, we've done this. Now what's next? And then we get there. And trying to get a coach. A coach and a philosophy that fits what AMBSE and Arthur Blank and Atlanta United in the collective is piecing together. I'm the Palace intrigue is high, shall we say?
Yeah, to me, this is the fun part, man. This is like, you're not going to get this reference, John. I'm sorry, but I'm just going to throw this out there. This is the nerd me talking. This is like starting. You've been playing a game for a while.
Mm-hmm.
We'll use FIFA. We'll use EAFC as an example, but. You've been playing a game for a while and you're like, man, this is cool, but I've gotten in a routine. I want to go back to the early days. I'm going to start this game over.
Okay.
All right. New game. And I get to go back to the fun part of like creating my character and, building it up how I want it. Maybe I'm going to do things slightly different this time based on everything I learned the first time around. And that's what this feels like to me. Like, not that Atlanta United is going by the wayside by any means. Like, it's just fun now to have the complete product. I put it in my article last night. I think it's kind of cool because, you have in what I've kind of referred to, I guess, as the modern era, because there is tons of history here, as anybody that's listened to all of us, and especially Jason with the history podcast. But like, this city doesn't lack soccer history. This city has just been through various iterations of teams over the years. And in the modern era, I mean, now you have Atlanta United, you have US Soccer bringing their headquarters here. So you're going to have all the national teams here in some way, shape, or form.
All freaking 27 of them, by the way.
Yeah. And then you have now a women's team coming in. So you have the trifecta. You have the full package now. And so it's just kind of cool to be able to say, like, Atlanta has become that place. And if you go back literally, I'll say 11 years ago.
Okay.
Go back to 2014, right before what happened last night happened for Atlanta United. Nobody thought it was going to work properly. And here we are 11 years later about to launch a women's team. And everybody is like hyped up about it. Everybody's like, you couldn't pick a better place. It's just, it's such a really, really cool thing to see that happened relatively quickly. Yeah.
Right
That's
there.
awesome.
Right there. It is here on the desk, Atlanta 2017. And yeah, everybody's like, Atlanta ought to never work here. We can't have that. No, it's the South. What does the South know about soccer?
Yep.
Turns
Turns out a thing or two.
Taps shoulder. This, you sit there and you're just kind of pointing. It's like, well, what does the South know about soccer? This.
You stand on Mercedes-Benz Stadium, you can point down.
Yeah.
You can point north to the training ground. You can
Mhm.
point south to the US training ground.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can point in every direction for the, the soccer in the street stuff and the mini pitches in every direction and all these things. And that's all been made possible, from a lot of this. I mean, obviously Arthur has a ton to do with everything, but like it's the fans that came in and they latched onto it and they took it and ran with it. And it's just so cool to see.
Well, and then you look at the trickle down effect of all of this, and this is stuff that we all cover on a daily basis. You have collegiate soccer right now; they're wrapping up their conference play and they're chasing after postseason championships. Georgia Gwinnett. I mean, here locally, Georgia Gwinnett is locking up conference championships on both the men's and women's sides in the NAIA. You come inside the perimeter, Emory, nationally ranked top 3 or 4 on the women's side, and the men's team has made the postseason. Oglethorpe, Division III, they're chasing after championships on every once a couple of years in cycles, with what John Aiken and everybody's doing there at Oglethorpe. You look at what Georgia's doing in the SEC. You look at what the Peach Belt Conference in Division II has. You're looking at, say, North Georgia and Dahlonega. You're looking at Columbus State and Columbus. I mean, we're talking Division II soccer being impactful in Dahlonega, Georgia, and in Columbus, Georgia. And you're looking at all of these. I mean, literally, I have this sheet here in front of me. You have 9 different conferences, as I tilt it so you're not blinded, so everybody's not blinded by this.
Flashbang.
9 different conferences in this state of Georgia alone. And obviously, it rubs off onto other states in the Southeast, but specifically since we're discussing NWSL ATL. The Sun Conference with SCAD. SCAD's winning national championships on the women's side. Peach Belt Conference. You've got North Georgia. You've got Clayton State in Division II. You've got Columbus State on the women's side. You've got North Georgia on the women's side. You've got Mercer in the SoCon that made a run to the conference semifinals on the men's and the women's side. The Southern States Athletic Conference and the NAIA, where you have Dalton State and Life University chasing after national championships on a yearly basis. Truett McConnell in the Appalachian, they won the conference title on the women's side, I believe, this year. Fun Belt has Georgia Southern chasing after things, and also Georgia State with what they're doing, and the rivalries that we see on Saturdays in the fall, we're now seeing them here in the winter and the spring. So State not Southern, Southern not State. We've got that. You've got the Gulf South Conference. You've got the SAA in Division III. And like I said, that was what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 separate conferences impacted by soccer on the men's and women's sides here in just the state of Georgia. And you're seeing that in, say, the last decade, 15 years or so, and we've been paying attention to it.
Yeah, and then when you start looking, that you can kind of take that in a bubble right now, like take a snapshot and say, hey, you have all of this talent just spread out across the entire state. Mm-hmm. And to your point, like across the Southeast in general. But like, I'll always go back almost every time I talk with Garth Lagerway, he brings up this stat that, and I don't know where exactly the stat came from, and I'm going to paraphrase here, but basically per capita, Georgia produces more top end sports talent in every sport than any other state in the country.
Dig it.
And I mean, the thing, like, yeah, you see it for sure, but like you look at this snapshot that you have right now on November 12th in 2025, right? 2.5 probably years.
I checked my monitor. That is correct. Yeah.
That is correct. Yeah. I had to look, including what year it was.
Yeah.
But this is, you go back 5-10 years and you're going to see names that have come through a lot of these schools and a lot of these places and a lot of these academies that have either moved on to another NWSL team or in some cases overseas, or they've, maybe moved out from the playing soccer realm into coaching or whatever other aspect. But like the talent is there, and the talent is only getting better. Actually, like it's to your point. There's so many schools that are doing so many great things. Like you're in a very, very fertile farmland of talent here in Georgia with the women's team. Like we know about the boys, we know about that.
Yeah.
And it's been gone through over the past decade and longer. But like now, this is a great opportunity for the NWSL Atlanta team to just literally pull from their proverbial backyard. It's just really cool to see, and it gives some of these young girls like something to really, really aspire to. Like I mentioned this to you last night and a few people, but like it was so cool over the past decade watching my sons, who were the older ones, watch Atlanta kind of be built, and then Stella, who occasionally makes cameos on this show. She's currently 3. She just turned 3. So by the time this team takes the field and actually kicks a ball inside Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and her getting to actually go and see a women's team there, she'll be probably 6. And I cannot wait for that moment as a dad. That just makes me so happy, to be able to see, because it's not just about the team. It's not just about the fact that they play soccer. It's about that, for all the stuff that we discuss about Atlanta United and the Falcons and everything else, they're run by a group of people who actually have values and they want to better their community. And they're not going to just bring in people that aren't role models for some of these young girls. So it's just super exciting.
Yeah. And, we mention in other sports that, and this is off of what Garth told you, is that for American high school football, just as an example, you're the number 3 state in the country when it comes to athletes going to the next level. And you have the academy aspect for Atlanta United, all of the local products. And then, if you add like a Noah Cobb, a regional product who moves here and then becomes a part of the collective and builds it forward. The idea that in an environment like this, you can have the NWSL ATL Academy idea and the RDS and all of these things where you could have NWSL ATL U12, U13, U14, 15, 16, 17, 19, U21, and take the same framework that has been successful in building the talent for Atlanta United and applying that to NWSL ATL, where just to give the champs from last year, in the high school realm, here are the champs from last year and where they were geographically. Private side, it was both teams out of Atlanta. 6A finalists, it was Walton and Buford. 5A finalists, it was Northgate and Roswell. 4A girls finalists last year, Marist and Blessed Trinity. AAA finalists last year, Jefferson and Oconee County. So that gets you out toward Athens. And you've got Jefferson with what Molly McCarty is doing and with what Judson Hamby's doing at Oconee County. Seriously, you take that pocket of target and talent, and Jefferson, we're having this discussion about Jefferson, Georgia, and Watkinsville, Georgia. To apply that to NWSL ATL and the interest that is definitely going to be in that neighborhood. AA girls last year, Pike County, which is Zebulon, which is, by the way, south of Griffin.
Yep, I'm very familiar with them.
That is right down. It's on the freeway, and it's like 1941. You're heading south. You look off to the left. You're heading southbound. That's Pike County High School. That's Zebulon, Georgia. And then you got Savannah Arts Academy that's also there. So you've got that on the coast. You've got Division I girls. You've got Bremen and Model. So that is Western Frontier and Northwest Georgia last year. And then 82 girls, just to give an example, Atlanta Classical Academy, like Oconee Academy. So you're out I-20 heading toward Augusta, and you've got Atlanta Classical. So you have all of these different pockets that are there for you to build your academy and your infrastructure to continue that wave that we're seeing with Atlanta United with NWSL ATL. This is going to be fun on a bunch of that Vulcan chess level that we're talking about here when it comes to assembly.
Some of the best individual soccer players that I've ever seen have been while coaching, going out to places like Pike County or, insert middle of nowhere county here. Like really, because there's what 157 counties in Georgia.
159. I had to know that to pass Georgia history.
Okay, there we go.
You had to know all the county seats too.
All right, I missed by 2. Oh God, did you really?
Yeah, to pass Georgia history here in the state of Georgia at the time, you had to, as a part of Georgia history, you had to know the county seats of insert county here. And if your teacher in Georgia history in the Georgia high school settings was a real, they would give you like Long County. Okay. I know it's Ludowici and I know how to spell it, but that's what you would have to know.
I mean, I've lived in Georgia my entire life, and I know a lot about Georgia and the geography, but I cannot tell you a lot of that. That's hard.
Liberty County is Hinesville. Pike County is Zebulon.
Yeah,
those kinds. You had to know that to pass Georgia history. That was one of your exams. You literally got like 50 counties, and you had to name the county seats.
That's insane.
Baldwin, Milledgeville. You had to know those things. And like Sly County, Ellaville,
that's ridiculous.
But that's once again
our education system has fallen immensely.
Well, but in a way, what it does, and we get to do it when we cover the high school matches here on the network too, is we go to a Hazelhurst, we go see what's being built at Jeff Davis High, and that's a good 3 hours away from here. You're talking about what's being built there, what's being built in Dalton, what has been built in Dalton, and the directional Whitfields that are there, what's being built in Gilmer County, all of these different places. I think that if you are a if you are a chief soccer officer, literally, if you are the chief soccer officer and in charge of the academy for NWSL, ATL, you're sitting there going, let me at it. Let's rock and roll and crush it and make it all local, and damn the torpedoes, and good luck the rest of the planet trying to keep up with us.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like that net has to be massive, right? And I mean, going back to what I was saying, I think some of the talent that you can find, it's these kids that they're not part of a culture yet, right? This is not Europe or South America where soccer is ingrained. It is
build your culture, man.
Yeah, for sure. But like, it's college football, right? It's football, like American football. But you have these kids that, they may just get put on a rec team, and that's really all they have access to in a random county, wherever. And they're so athletic and they're so dedicated to the game, but they just don't have that way to branch out. And this goes for boys and girls. And I mean, you've seen a lot of it with Atlanta, right? With Atlanta United over the past few years. Like, they're going to the Daltons and they're going to Chattanooga and they're going to like all these places, and they're able to draw in this talent. But there's still so much out there that is untapped. I mean, like, I would argue, and this is coming straight from the chest, I have like no numbers to back this.
Yeah.
But I would say 85% of this state is still truly untapped in terms of potential, because it's just so hard to cover that much area. And now here you are bringing on a women's team, and outside of the colleges, right? Go look at the high schools. Go look at the academies, like these local academies, some that aren't as big as ones that you kind of hear all the time.
Yeah.
And look and honestly, look at some of these rec teams, the ones that are actually going out doing a good job, and they've got players that really, really want to play, but they just don't have access in other places. There are gyms from a pure athletic standpoint. There are gyms out there, and I can't wait to see kind of how this scouting process continues to evolve. It'll be so much fun to watch, because that's the first step, right? Like that's how it all started with Atlanta United as well.
Mm-hmm. And David and Ricky Ricardo are already starting to fill out the roster, and I love it.
Well,
but I mean, and it's locals. Yeah. David, Riley Jackson, and Soleil Washington. You bring Soleil Washington, who is a part of Chambly Girls,
and already playing for Jamaica, right?
Yeah, and so Soleil Washington, she's getting reps with Jamaica, heading to Florida State or at Florida State. Whoop, whoop, whoop. And so you have like a Riley Jackson, you've got a Soleil Washington, you've got a Croy Bethune, and now Ricky's like Croy Bethune's contract runs through 26 with an option to extend. Sign her in 27, loan her for a year, face in 28. This is the kind of talk that we are going to have for the next 2.5 years, and it is going to be glorious.
Yep.
Of just the top end first team part of NWSL ATL, to where all of the build and all of the names and all of the places that I mean, you thought college football recruiting was something. Talk about recruiting for NWSL ATL over the next 2.5 years as you're trying to get your teams built. That this is literally, you're getting what, 53 cents a mile these days, I think is what it is when it comes to writing off your taxes, 50,
Yep.
55, something like that.
Yep.
You get, and this is one of my favorite quotes, and it comes from Sun Tzu's The Art of War.
That is one of my favorite books.
And it is something that, and I would recommend, by the way, that everyone have a copy of that book in your library, because it fits more than just what Sun Tzu was looking for at the time in conquering his enemies on the field of battle.
I'll give you one more in a minute.
My favorite one, and I've used it for decades: trust the local guides, for they know the terrain. That one for me has stuck with me for the longest time in multiple businesses. And when you have NWSL ATL coming online, find those local guides, because they know where they need to travel. They know those back roads. They know the interstates. They know the places to eat. They know the good barbecue, and they know the talent to get. That for me is what will stick with me in building NWSL ATL.
100%. 100%. I think that's the secret sauce, right? Because
it's not so secret anymore, considering we're talking about it on the morning show.
I mean, it's still, it depends on who listens to it. I think we got the right ears and eyes on these things. You have to go and take advantage of what is offered to you, and there are people out there who know a lot of this stuff like the back of their hand, because this is not day one for them. Looking at talent, looking at things, knowing kind of what is out there. This is year 5, year 10 of being involved in it and seeing like, oh, hey, there's this kid down in Pike County I played a few times, and I hate playing against him. If I were a betting man, I would probably go bet on that kid, and that's just how it is. And look, Georgia's a big state, biggest state east of the Mississippi. So like, there's a lot of room to cover. If you want to be serious about it, you've got to go put the resources in. So it'll be fun. It'll be a fun ride.
What's your quote?
Well, it wasn't a quote. I was going to give you another book that's similar. That is life advice that applies both for, in their case, battle, but also just life, business, etc. It is The Book of Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi.
Okay.
So go check that one out.
Okay. So that is the SDH book club.
There you go. I have both of those sitting literally next to each other on my bookshelf.
Yeah, Musashi and Sun Tzu right next to each other. So yeah, it was a fun night last night, and now you're just sitting there, and all of us are rubbing our collective hands together, sitting there going, all right, let's construct the roster, let's make it local, let's kick some ass, let's get the academies up and running. And that's the fun thing about this environment and this particular part of the soccer United States. It's like, look, let's go. It's that college football mentality of, all right, let's get it. Let's put 3 fingers in the dirt, snap the ball, let's go, and we're going to keep going for a full 60 minutes. This is the fun part where everybody is like, look, you go here, you go here, you go here, you go here, and it's like, hey, yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, it's building. It's so much fun. You only get these opportunities very rarely, and it's not like a season where it's like, all right, well, the season sucked, we'll do it again next year. This is, you get one time to build a club from the ground up. And so take it all in, enjoy it. And yeah, throw your opinions out there, because you never know what might get latched onto. For example, I saw the 5-stripe thing earlier. The 5-stripe thing became the name, and we can go into the history of it later, but it's just funny because it was just a random thing thrown out on a website that latched on, and now it's become the basically official nickname. So you never know. It's fun.
Yes.
It's all part of the process.
And we have 2.5 years, probably more like a year and a half, and then you'll have expansion drafts and things like that. And you can sit there and it's like, okay, how are we filling in our holes and going from there? You guys going on tonight to talk about it?
We are. We will be on at 7. We'll be talking a little bit about Tata Martino as well.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, that guy. And getting ready for his press conference tomorrow. But we also have Lori Lindsay on to chat about all of this, the NWSL news, and we'll be going into as much detail with everything that we know as well. So, yeah, 7 o'clock.
On the Scarves and Spikes YouTubes and all of their social medias. And it's now time for Tyler to go finish his second cup of coffee and get ready for the day. As always, my friend, great to see you. To lead off Wall Pass Wednesday, and we will rock and roll. We'll see you later.
All right. See y'all.
As he continues to thaw out and has more coffee and all the things. Tyler Pilgrim, Scarves and Spikes, and they're at it tonight. They're chopping up at 7 o'clock with Lori Lindsay et al., and that's Latin for and others. At Ali E, at Ali E, at Ali E, and others, the plural. So, yeah, that was this is the kind of conversation that we're going to be having for the next, say, year and a half and then going forward because of NWSL ATL and what is being built. It is literally the blank slate of construction, both physically and infrastructure, and we can all, from what we have been seeing over the last decade plus, we can sit there and point them in directions and go, here, 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 and here. Go for it and knock yourself out because this is what has been built before you. Go for it and bring it all together for NWSL ATL in 2028. It's always fun to be able to chop it up. David says, saw Riley Jackson play in a high school game. I didn't realize that my hair was out of control. Saw Riley Jackson play in a high school playoff game, 5 minutes, and I said, that lady's the best player on the pitch. Another parent told me she was a freshman, and her older sister was playing in front of her. There are players you see and know. That's crazy. Immediately, they are rare talents. And then David says, wound up being Georgia Player of the Year 2 years later. And I mean, think about it. Think about all of the talent that we see. I mean, it is literally all of those places. But the fact that we can sit here and point NWSL ATL to Jefferson, Georgia, to Watkinsville, Georgia, to Zebulon, Georgia, to what's going on, like I said, to what's going on in Hazelhurst, what's going on in Savannah, what's going on in South Georgia, in old Region 1 6A. Region 1 6A, Region 2 Single A, those regions of doom that are down south. To see what's being built there, being built in a place like Thomasville. This is a rich environment for talent in NWSL ATL, and those of us who are going to be following it, it's going to be fun to see the build and once again reinforce that the South's got something to say instead of getting poo-pooed. Oh, you're just, you're the South. What does the South know? Well, I'll tell you. And all you have to do is just motion like this. Just take your hands, just motion. Hey, I'll take you someplace, and then we can find it out. So that's the fun part of NWSL ATL. Bottom of the hour, once again, we catch up with our friends. Speaking of builds, Corpus Christi into the USL and USL League One. We get to catch up with them coming up the bottom of the hour and find out about their build and where they are and what they're looking to do in USL League One going forward. So, yes, we're getting a visit from Corpus Christi, Texas, about a build coming up bottom of the hour. All right, let's go into some of the sound from yesterday. And one of the things, and I want to lead with this on purpose, one of the things that kind of slipped below the radar was at the end of the announcement in and of itself, and this is the announcement that was made on social media and such. You had, and this is how it was phrased. This is paragraph last. In addition, the Arthur M. Blank Family Foundation will provide seed funding to launch the NWSL Foundation, which will focus on advancing research and innovation in women's sports with an emphasis on female athlete health and performance. That just kind of slipped below the radar. It was at the back of the press release from the NWSL about NWSL ATL, where it was mentioned 17th Club, 2028, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, modification, investment, first-class training ground, club and staff, committed to creating championship environment, best-in-class facilities. We'll get into what they've learned from Atlanta United, and we'll play that too. that last paragraph about the NWSL Foundation launch and seed money coming from Arthur Blank. We've talked a lot, and I think it's safe to say that we've talked too many times about injuries to players that have kept them out of their professional careers or their college careers or their high school careers for far too long. And trying to figure out, and this is stuff that we've had the discussions about as well, where ACL injuries and why they're more prevalent, just as one of the talking points to get into this. So that last paragraph about the Blank Foundation, pairing with a newly created NWSL Foundation about this. I made a point to ask Mr. Blank and Commissioner Jessica Berman about it. And here was what they had to say last night after the announcement was made about Team 17.
Mr. Blank, for you and for Commissioner Berman, the foundation element of this, which was another important element of this, how did that idea come to be, and what are you anticipating?
Well, my comment was that we talked to the commissioner over, a couple of years now, and the notion of creating the best atmosphere, not only for the sport and for the women who are playing, but for all the health issues related to women who participate in sports, regardless of which sport it may be. In the case of soccer, the history is that injuries are more of a factor for women than they are for men. So we were interested in terms of, not just our league, but the greater issue of women participating in sports. How do we help with health and safety issues? And we found a great partner in Commissioner at NWSL, and want to help support their foundation in that regard, and we'll support them with our foundation, not only resources, but giving them access to the staff that we use to do work in that area.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I think it was really two things. When we look at the growth of women's professional sports and women's soccer in particular, we know that not just through the lens of female athletes, but more broadly, women's health issues have not gotten the proper attention, resources, and support that it needs for women to be able to thrive and live healthy lives. And that's even more true for female athletes. And just by way of example, we have the most mothers in our league. There's almost no research on being pregnant and returning after to become a professional athlete. We expect upwards of 15 players to return to play next season who are currently expecting children, and we want to be able to support them with best-in-class resources and medical health and innovation. And when we looked at those business challenges and some of the things that stand in the way of us taking this league to the next level, and we see the amazing philanthropy of Arthur Blank and his family, we knew that there was an opportunity to bring those things together. In addition, I'm sure everybody in this community knows Rich McKay, Arthur, Josh. This organization has worked side by side with the NFL on all kinds of health and safety issues for decades, and we think that there's a lot of opportunities for us to learn what they have learned in their work with that league. And so we're excited to just bring our organizations together and make sure that these women, these female athletes, are getting the research, resources, and attention they deserve.
Commissioner Jessica Berman of the NWSL and Arthur Blank last night, after it was announced that Atlanta is becoming Team 17 in the NWSL for the launch for the 2028 season. And now that you have this runway of 2+ years, which really has already started the train rolling down the tracks, just because you have an announcement does not mean that you're starting from there. They've been starting from back here, and they hit this point publicly, and so now everything goes forward in this particular aspect of it. So that was something that was just kind of talked about in the release at the end. And initially, and this is, I'm going to pull back the curtain here a second. So Jason and I were standing next to each other at the inside the press area, and he reads the release and he looks at that last paragraph and he points it to me, and I'm like, oh, so I guess that's a question. And so fortunate enough to ask that question of those two. And it's been something, like I said, we've been talking about it entirely too much when it comes to injuries, recovery, et cetera. And Commissioner Berman mentioned female athletes coming back from pregnancy and wanting to come back and be competitive, in the NWSL. So there are a lot of questions that have never had the foundation, to use that word again, a baseline to go and chase after possibilities as to why, and then figure out how to address, fix, rehabilitate, and bring them back in as superior professional athletes. So buried at the end, but a really important thing when it comes to soccer for good. So that was something that really stuck with us last night. And so able to ask that question of the commissioner and of Arthur Blank too. Now, there were a couple of other things that I wanted to get into when it came to the question and answer session from last night. And I'm trying to figure out what legal pad I put it on. Of course, I probably threw it away, and I'll have to reference it blind. But also, it was a discussion of why now? Why is it that it is being named now? I know that we have the symmetry of it being the 17th franchise coming in 2028, and that's the symmetry that we all embrace and such. As we mentioned, it's something that Arthur Blank has been mentioning for 7 years. What was it about now that triggered the idea of, okay, let's go ahead and get this online and bring it in for 2028?
Well, I think it's a culmination of our commitment to soccer. First, through Atlanta United, a commitment to the U.S. Soccer Federation, and helping them bring their facilities here, and our commitment now to women's professional soccer, and obviously FIFA and everything else we're doing, along with the World Cup games coming up this summer. So it's part of our commitment. But I think, I'm particularly excited and sensitive to the growth in women's sports and the impact that NWSL has had already on women's sports, not only domestically but internationally. The best players in the world play for this league and will play for us as well. We'll do everything we can to make sure we build a world-class facility, a training facility for them that'll be equal to none. We're going to do some conversion work at Mercedes-Benz Stadium to make sure they have the world-class facilities that they're entitled to play on, and fans will enjoy. So we couldn't be more excited about it. Timing is what worked out now. And I think a lot of it is a credit to really the work that the commissioner and other owners in the league has done over the last 2 or 3 years. There's been a tremendous amount of growth and change in the governance of the league, and a tremendous amount of growth and change in a positive way in attendance and broadcasting and all of the metrics you'd look at from a business standpoint. So great credit to everybody at NWSL, but particularly to the young woman to my left here. She's done an unbelievable job.
Arthur Blank once again last night discussing the why now aspect of all of this. And Mr. Blank mentioned the metrics when it comes to viewing and the rights fees that are attached to the current television contracts. And it is one of those things that you look at and the numbers are continuing on their upward swing, and you're seeing all kinds of investment, and you're seeing, and this goes to our discussion about the economics of soccer, you're starting to see equity firms, you're starting to see private equity investing in multiple franchises in the NWSL. Michelle Kang, we know what she brings to the table. So you're seeing private equity and MCOs attached now to the NWSL. Obviously, you have Arthur Blank attached to it once again, and all of this economy that right now is being wrapped into what we're seeing in the NWSL. Bunch of different fronts, a bunch of different markers. They're hitting all of those big positives as the league continues its upward swing. So then it was asked of Commissioner Berman what Atlanta brings to the NWSL. And when we look at those kinds of things, obviously you're looking at a top 10 media market. You're looking at what has happened with the growth of Atlanta United. You look at where Atlanta is, once again, we mentioned with the U.S. Soccer Federation having its home in the Southern Crescent down in Fayetteville, all of those different things. But the commissioner was asked as well what Atlanta brings to the table, and here's what she said last night.
Well, when we think about expansion, we know it's an opportunity to raise the bar for all of our clubs, and Atlanta in particular, with this ownership group, we know is going to set records and is going to challenge everyone to be their best, and we're excited for that. That's what expansion has done in our league for each of the last 4 seasons, and this market in particular has shown how much they love the sport of soccer and the way they rally around, in particular, Arthur and his investment in the community. And we know that these sports teams are community assets and that the way to build them is from the ground up, and this community has demonstrated that they will show up when it's built in that way. And so we're super excited to be partnering with them and to have the good fortune of having them guide the next generation of this league in 2028 with a new team in Atlanta.
The other thing I would add, Doug, I'm sorry, just one second. Another thing I would add, I want to give assurance. Atlanta United obviously didn't have the kind of year on the pitch this year that we'd like to see. We brought back a new coach who we think, an old coach who's a new coach now, and will help restore us to the level of play you'd expect to see. But we're building their NWSL organization and franchise from the ground floor up. We'll be hiring a ton of new people. It won't be on the backs of Atlanta United. It'll be done separately with separate resources and a separate commitment to soccer generally, but specifically to women's soccer.
And that was one of the other important elements to it, is that this build of NWSL ATL is not going to be done in concert and in conjunction with what's going on with Atlanta United. They're going to be their own day. They're going to be their own thing. You're going to have your own run, your own build. You're over here, but obviously you're going to have interaction, and you're going to have the collective effort, the collective emotion, the collective administration, where you will have crossover conversations and such. But when it comes to the actual formation and running and implementation of the franchise within NWSL and NWSL ATL, they're going to be over here. Atlanta United, Major League Soccer over here. Yes, you're going to have those times where you're going to go from one office building to the other and one office suite to the next and that kind of a thing. But it's going to be two separate streets, 2 separate lanes of traffic. And yes, they're going to learn from each other, but NWSL ATL is going to have their own thing, and they're going to build and be the best that they can be in the NWSL when they come online as a playing franchise for the 2028 season. So there's a lot of, I know that there was some discussion about that. Well, what about, relationships inside the AMBSE umbrella? Obviously, you're going to have some of the same administration looking at both franchises and sitting there and going, okay, let's have a conversation about this. Let's have a conversation about this. So you're going to have oversight from a larger element inside AMBSE, I would imagine. But implementation, operation, day to day, y'all are doing your own thing. If you want to talk, you can. I imagine you will, but it's implementation over here, implementation over here. You're in Major League Soccer, you're in the NWSL, go. So that was another part of what was discussed yesterday about all of this. Then Arthur Blank was asked about the good lessons of Atlanta United and what those are and how you bring them into the discussion about the growth of NWSL ATL. So here's what Mr. Blank had to say when he was asked that question last night.
Well, I think the good lessons, we ended up with Sports Illustrated, saluting us as the best launch of a professional sports team in the history of the United States with Atlanta United. We want to duplicate that with NWSL and have that kind of success. So to us, two common expressions: there is no finish line, the best of nothing. I have other ones as well, but those two will definitely apply to women's soccer here. So it's a matter of resources. It's a matter of building a culture, bringing in people early so they can study the market, get in touch with the market, understand what women's soccer looks like in the greater Atlanta metro area and throughout the state and beyond. And we expect to be bringing, guests, fans from all over the Southeast. So it'll take some time, but we're already in search for the kind of organizational structure that we'll need to produce the world-class results.
Arthur Blank once again last night after the announcement of Team 17 in the NWSL. NWSL Atlanta coming online on the field in 2028, but obviously going to be off and running here fairly soon. Once again, don't know names, won't know that. Like I said, it was 9 months for Atlanta 2017 to become Atlanta United. So once again, you look 9 months, it's toward the end of that cup competition that's going to be happening involving men's soccer in 2026. You make that announcement probably toward the end of that and Atlanta's interaction therein. And then that's that next marker that you can sit there and take off and check off on the big checklist inside the hermetically sealed meeting room with the glass table and the equal number of easy chairs with the glass table and the glass walls that everybody can see in, but you can't hear out. Kind of like in, what was it? What was the Billions, where you had, I think Bobby had that hermetically sealed office space where he could yell at people. So those kinds of things where you don't hear anything on the way out. That's the kind of business room I would imagine that all these discussions are going to be involving NWSL ATL coming up as we go here before the on-the-field launch in 2028. So looking forward to all of that. Let me say hi to everybody and get caught up on what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. As a matter of fact, no, that's right. We don't have that today because the group stage was done. And so, of course, after the group stage was done in the U17s yesterday, the United States scores. They go on to win 1-0, and they ran the group, 3 wins, and they're off and running. And I think they get Morocco in the next round. So while we're there, and since I went ahead and mentioned it, we'll go ahead and see what the round of 32, and it's a staggered start. Some of it is Friday, some of it is Saturday. So here's the rundown of the round of 32. Zambia and Mali are Friday, as well as Portugal and Belgium. Switzerland and Egypt is at 8 o'clock. France and Colombia is at 8:30. That one is on Universo and FS2. Argentina, Mexico at 9:45 is on Telemundo. Ireland and Canada Friday morning at 10:15. U.S. and Morocco at 10:45. So as we're going off the air, we will send all of you to Peacock and Universo to watch U.S. and Morocco at 10:45. Then like getting Morocco again in a tournament in the round of 32. Brazil and Paraguay is at 10:45 also in pitch on pitch number 9. So that is where it's looking for Friday's activity. Saturday, Senegal and Uganda is at 10:30. Korea Republic and England is at 7:30. And Italy and Czechia is on Telemundo at 8. Japan and South Africa is at 8:30. Germany and Burkina Faso at 9:45. And Venezuela and Korea DPR is on FS2 at 10:15. Austria, Tunisia is at 10:45. Croatia and Uzbekistan is at 10:45. And so that's your round of 32. So it's 8 on Friday and 8 on Saturday. And my kingdom for a bracket, I'd love a bracket right now. And because I can talk about it all day long and let you know what everything is. But let me see if I can find an easy bracket. But yes, the U.S. gets Morocco in the U17s out of the blocks. So it's once again another time where the U.S. gets a tough opponent in the early rounds of the activity. So round of 32 ties confirmed. Do I have a bracket anywhere? My bracket. Where's the kingdom for a bracket? That's all I'm looking for. I'm not asking for much. Round of 32 ties confirmed. Please tell me that there is a bracket. That's all I want. That's all I'm looking for. I don't think I'm asking for much. So full list of fixtures, matches to be played, confirmed, full explainer, Friday, Saturday. Okay, here we go. So round of 32, focusing on the lower half of the bracket that the U.S. is in. So match 76, USA and Morocco. Winner of that one gets Zambia and Mali on the 17th. Then the rest of that bracket for the U.S., the mini bracket that's attached to them, Brazil, Paraguay, France, Colombia. So that is a tough quadrant for the U.S. to be attached to. So the U.S., once again, their bracket, USA, Morocco, winner of that one gets Zambia and Mali. Below them in the remainder of the quadrant, Brazil, Paraguay, France, Colombia. Next matchup for the U.S. would be if they win on Friday, would be on the 17th. Then after that, you play on the 20th. And then after that, if you make it through, and then you would get out of your bracket there in the semifinal, and it would be the Argentina, Mexico, Portugal, Belgium, Switzerland, Egypt, Ireland, Canada bracket. So that's where you're in the bottom quadrant of your half, and it's an interesting road for the U.S. So finally, you get a bracket. Instead of it saying just bracket, instead of it saying bracket, it's like you've got to find where the bracket is. So that's what the U.S. is hunting for in the next little bit. Okay, So they're on the Tom Coughlin schedule. And for Tom Coughlin, what that would mean for those that might remember him and when he was the head coach of the New York Giants. If you're 5 minutes early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, then we're shutting the door and you can't come in. So because of this, they're on the Tom Coughlin schedule. They're on time. They're 5 minutes early on the clock, but they're on time. And for this, we get the education about everything going on in Corpus Christi involving their move and their development into USL League One. And for this, we go to Corpus Christi and we get to hang out with folks and find out about an education, about building a franchise. And it's great to have both of you here hanging out with us this morning once again. Eran Hami, Director of Communications, Marissa Trevino, Director of Ops for Corpus Christi FC. Welcome to the morning show. Thanks for dropping by.
Good morning, John. Yeah, funny you mentioned Tom Coughlin. That's how I was brought up. So I'm trying to bring that to the business world as well.
Strong. Love that. Okay, so who won the toss and who gets to answer the first question, or who's deferring? Who won the toss this morning?
I'm deferring.
Oh.
I guess that's me.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. See, and that was
I'm the second half team.
Well, because and you saw what he did, Marissa. Eran, he goes, he's like, I'm deferring, and then he goes and gets his drink. You see, he puts himself in a place where he's just like, no, I can't answer it because I'm taking a sip of my morning caffeine. I see how this goes. All right, so Marissa, let me ask you to start things off. What is it like to be at this particular point of the development of the franchise to where, we know the USL League One, they're looking right now at a championship game, and they're looking for the last game of the year. And that means that Corpus Christi FC is that much closer to being online in USL League One. What's it like to be at this particular moment in time for you guys?
It's crunch time. I think that you're looking at, two people who are very highly involved in getting things moving forward in a very fast manner. We had this discussion earlier Monday. I was like, listen, we have Thanksgiving, we have Christmas, and then it's preseason. Yeah. So Eran and I work very closely together. We're at the front working as hard, pushing forward, doing everything that is expected by the USL One, making sure we have all our ducks in a row, making sure our I's are dotted, our T's are crossed. We have every P and Q. You're looking at the team right here. It's stressful, but it's fun, and it's really amazing to see that this is coming to Corpus Christi.
So, and outside of our ownership, sorry, John, outside of our ownership, she's been here the longest. So she's seen the change from USL 2 to USL 1 and the progress it's taken and what it's done for this community.
So, Eran, she mentioned getting to this particular point. For those that don't know, and I'm sure that both of you can answer this question just as well, but I want to start with you, Eran. For those that don't know the footprint, those that don't know what soccer means to Corpus Christi and that particular part of Texas, how would you break down what soccer means to that part of the footprint?
I think it's definitely a growing sport. You'd be surprised in South Texas. I know football is what we talk about down here. Baseball is a big sport because we win state championships in baseball down here a lot of the time. But soccer's actually been one of those things that has had to develop over the last decade. I know we're close to Central America. We're not far from the border, so you'd think the fandom would be strong. And people do have their teams outside of the U.S., but we want to bring them a team that they can be proud of here in South Texas. We're the only pro team now south of San Antonio. So that's something for them to rally around, from people from the Valley to come up, from people from Laredo to come out this way. So we're trying to grow something bigger than just Corpus Christi, but extended out towards what we call the Coastal Bend.
Yeah. And so, Marissa, when we discuss all of this build, for those that may not know the timeline, how far back are we talking when CCFC comes on and they mention, okay, League Two with obviously heading to League One, but how long of a runway are we talking about here from genesis of the idea to where the two of you are hanging out with me now?
Wow. I think it's been 4 years. Mm-hmm. Right when I came in, they started approaching Dr. Kingsley about moving into USL One. So it's been 4 years in the making, and we've just been pushing forward, making sure that it was something that we could sustain here in Corpus Christi. And honestly, it's been a long road, but it's gone very fast.
It has felt that way. I jumped on board earlier this year, and it's felt like we just skyrocketed ever since then.
And to that point, it kind of goes to the theme that we've had this morning, because we had the big announcement here in Atlanta last night about going online for NWSL ATL as Team 17 in 2028. And the reason that I asked how long of a runway we had here is because a lot of folks may sit there and see, oh yeah, 2028, it's over there. And we're like, no, you don't understand. It's right there. And as to your point, Marissa, it's like, yeah, we've got the holidays and then we're going. So it's like, you can't really, you look at a timeline and it's just kind of like, yeah, but no, it's a consistent kind of a thing you're on that you're having to go through, knowing that it's right there. I mean, it's got to be exciting and daunting and challenging all at the same time.
Yeah, I've been having different conversations with our staff from our ticketing to our partnerships and Coach Eamon Zayed, who's just come in, and love the guy very much. We're planning things out through the next month, and then we're like, wait a minute. After the new year, we're going right to preseason. We don't have any time for this anymore. We have to get it done now. And I think teams like Atlanta, who have at least a few years, I think they'll be set in a good position to set it up if they move at a fast pace. But we have to move at an even faster pace when we only had a year or so to get ready.
Eran Hami, Director of Comms, Marissa Trevino, Director of Ops for Corpus Christi FC, as they get ready to hop into USL League One. Marissa, I'm going to ask you about field trips. And I don't know. I think it's 55 cents a mile these days that you can write off on your taxes when it comes to doing things in a business sense. How many trips and how much comparison studying have you guys done with the other teams, whether it's in League One or Championship in the USL, to sit there and say, okay, we're doing it this way, but we can do it this way, still have the same messaging? How much education has it been with all of the other franchises to sit there and compare notes and go, yeah, okay, we're doing this in our way, the right way, but how much comparison studying have you guys done?
It's a lot of comparison. Before I came into this, I was an educator. So I am all about comparing. You give me a Venn diagram and I can be there all day long. I am back and forth between, I'll make a spreadsheet and this is one way we're going to do it. This is another way we can do it. I'm a firm believer in always having plan A through Z planned out. So it has been a lot of work, crunching numbers, looking at other teams, looking at all the travel, looking at the expenses, because everything has gone up lately. What's sustainable, what is not, what is realistic, and what is not. We have sheet after sheet, and it's all on one sheet, just A through Z, what our best options are and how we're going to move forward. And if plan B falls through, we always have plan C, D, E, F, G.
One sheet? You're serious? It's all on one sheet?
I have to see it all on one page.
Okay.
So like I said, I was a teacher. And so if I see it all makes sense to me. Eventually, when I turn it in and give it to the owner or I share it with Eran, I make different sheets at the bottom. But for myself to see what's realistic as an educator in my past, I have to see it all together first to make sure I'm hitting every different angle.
Because to give you an example, this is one of my sheets that I have explaining everything this week that's going on the morning show. And so literally it starts out with like a bunch of names. And then as the week goes along, you sit there and you cross off something else and cross off something else. And by the end of Friday, you're hoping that everything is crossed off when you know it's not. So Eran, where is that one sheet? As he takes a big drink of caffeine, where is that one sheet that Marissa has that she has to see, or is it larger for you? Is it on a Google Doc? Is it on a legal pad? Is it on one of those ring binder notebooks like we had in high school? Is it on a dry erase board that I'm not currently seeing, that is 4 feet tall and 8 feet wide and wrapped around a corner in an office that's got a bunch of different colors of dry erase marker and squiggles and lines? Where is this? Two-part question. Where is this list?
I'm a big fan of the dry erase boards. I want those in every office that we have going forward, because I'm someone who likes to map things out as well and kind of draw a plan. I think she starts on paper, moves it to Google Docs, and then that's easy way to send it out, because I just start on Google Docs and just go from there and make sure everyone has access to it. That seems to be the best way for a startup to get going.
Okay, so the second part of the question. What is the next thing on that list, whether it's on the one sheeter that Marissa has or your dry erase board that you have, that you guys think you can cross off to get ready for launch in 26 in USL League One?
I'm glad you asked because we actually have a meeting right after this with our brand that we will be announcing here in a couple of weeks. We're partnering with a new brand to bring you guys new jerseys, new merchandise, the works, and we are very excited about when that's going to launch because that's going to be very, very soon. That's all I
Okay.
can say.
Well, so you're not going to break the news on the morning.
I don't think I'm legally allowed, but I'm not entirely sure.
Oh, man. So then, Marissa, when it comes to your side of things, when it comes to ops, is there something else that you think you can cross off that's not going to be broken news this morning on a brand name or anything? Associations is what else can be crossed off the list in short term, knowing that we are 2 weeks away from Thanksgiving and another month from Christmas, and then Eamon wants to have training camp.
Yeah. I think one thing that is major that we are getting ready to cross off our list are the tryouts.
Mm-hmm.
The tryouts are coming up soon. I have everything prepared for the tryouts. I have the numbers ready. I have I have the tent ready. I have the chairs ready, the tables ready. I have the staff ready to do sign-ins. That is just around the corner. So that is one thing that is going to be crossed off the list almost immediately. We've been looking forward to this I've been looking forward to it for over a year, but in the past few weeks, as it's getting closer, we've just been prepping, making sure we have all our ducks in a row.
I'm getting messages every day about tryouts. So people are excited. And hey, here's a little benefit for anyone watching. We have warm tryouts. It's not cold here in November. You can come and be comfortable when you're playing.
Unless something comes from the flip side and it comes up through the Gulf and it sits there and it's a backdoor front and everybody sits there and goes, wait, it's snowing in Brownsville and Corpus Christi?
You gotta just pray it's not the 1 week out of the entire year.
No. And when it comes to, you mentioned Eamon Zayed, and he has that pedigree, Eran. We know him from his time at Northern Colorado, where and I'll phrase it this way. The situation was difficult for him to navigate at times, and he still took them on deep playoff runs. And we've had Eamon on the morning show occasionally to find out what's been going on in his coaching career and such. What's it like having a force of nature like him to be that coach for Corpus Christi, as he's already smiling and Marissa's sitting there going, yeah, I got stories I can't tell you. What's it like having that kind of a force of nature there as the first head coach for this organization?
Well, it's awesome that you asked because we were with him last week and we were just talking things out. And I looked at Marissa and I looked at him like, we're the same people. Like we think the same exact way. We want things done the same exact way and we know how to go about it. So having somebody who's on the same page as us with the same mentality and an aggressive one at that is awesome to have. Someone who wants to come in and win right away and set a standard in the first year, which he did in Northern Colorado, and that escalated into the Jägermeister Cup. So he knows how to do things like this. And if you look at his playing career as well, he persevered through everything, bounced around, still made a name for himself in every place he went. And he's a fan favorite all over the place.
So, Marissa, we mentioned having these kinds of forces of nature. I know that when you're assembling a front office and assembling personnel, that you're looking for a particular kind of individual that will fit. You're looking for that person that understands where you're going, understands what you want, understands what you need, doesn't have to be asked twice. When it comes to those kinds of folks sending their CVs to you, what kind of individual are you looking for going forward in this launch of everything in year one? What's the kind of person that you need there at Corpus Christi to help navigate all of these things that are new for you guys?
I think you said it. We're looking for people that are very much like us. We have a list of things that need to be done. At no point does Dr. Kingsley have to call Eran or myself and be like, this needs to be done, this needs to be done, this needs to be done. We know what we need to do and we push forward, we move. We don't have to ask, we don't have to wait to be told. So a lot of stuff gets done because we just continue to roll. As you said, we knock one thing off the list onto the next, another thing. And that's really the kind of people we are looking for. I know it's not everybody's personality. A lot of people like to be told like, okay, now you have to do this and now you have to do that. But in a company like this, that's moving forward quite quickly, as we said, Thanksgiving, Christmas, hello, preseason, right? We need people that are just going to hit the ground running. And that's what we're looking for.
How much, Eran, has your phone blown up? You mentioned tryouts and such. You're already laughing. Your phone, I imagine, is blowing up. Your DMs are blowing up, but getting a bunch of emails. What is the most? Well, I was going to say equidistant, but that's not the right word. What's the furthest contact that you've gotten from someone who's interested in being a part of Corpus Christi, whether it's off the field or on the field? What's the most random, faraway contact you've had to be a part of this build?
Pretty much every country in East Africa.
Whoa.
Yeah. The DMs are blowing up from all sorts of amateur players in Africa that want to come over. They've taken notice to our social media page now that we've been more active, or they've heard something. Maybe they follow Coach Zayed, and they've just been reaching out like crazy. We've had people in the UK, people in Asia, the Middle East. So it's been fun to interact with these people, and their English isn't bad. So I try and direct them to the tryouts. Unfortunately, we can't help everyone get over here. Yeah. But we hope that maybe we have a few more in the future for them, and they find a way to get here.
Yeah, and I mean, it's how much of an education, Marissa, has this been for you when it comes to building something from scratch? Where I know that your knowledge base knows certain ways that you need to go, but how much of an adventure and how much of a learning experience has it been for you building this to this point, knowing that season 1's just around the corner?
It's been a big learning experience. Like I said, I was in a classroom for 21 years before this. Mm-hmm. And so when I came into this, I was like, okay, I can bring a certain organization, but I had a lot to learn. I knew soccer. I played soccer growing up. My kids play soccer. I had already been really involved in the youth world. But when I stepped into Corpus Christi FC, it was a whole other world. There was semi-pro, and they were moving to pro. And it has been a huge learning opportunity. I have enjoyed every minute of learning and gaining knowledge of stuff that I absolutely had no idea that went into running a club.
And we all have different backgrounds.
We all have completely different backgrounds. And it has been one of the most positive experiences in my life. I think this has been life-changing for myself and my kids. And I wouldn't trade the knowledge I've gained for anything. It's been a huge learning experience.
Follow up. How has it been that rewarding and all the learning? How much are we talking here?
I'm talking like just learning little things about ITCs, things that I never had to do in the youth portion, right? Just
ITCs
learning about
P1 visas. Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. Learning about housing, learning about boarding, and just everything that goes into taking care of these players. Because as fans, we go to the games, but we don't know what's happening in the background. How did they get there? You know, what were they fed before they get there? How many times did they have to stop? What's required? What is the most beneficial to the player? After how many hours should you stop, pull over, let them rest their legs? Mm-hmm. It was a lot of research, and dealing with the transportation. Studies show that if you stop at every 1 hour, 45 minutes, the players are going to play better. Huh. Or studies show that if they eat certain foods, they're going to perform better. Yeah. I mean, just stuff that you never think about when you're sitting at the game, watching, enjoying, cheering on your favorite player. There's a lot that goes on. Then game days are a total different operations. Getting there to the field, setting up the ticket booth, setting up the merge, making sure the athletic trainer is there, contacting athletic trainers, finding athletic trainers. It has been a huge learning experience.
I think.
All right. So then, Eran, what about for you on the comm side of things?
Yeah, it's so growing up, soccer was my entire life. My father was from Israel, and I'm from Northeast Ohio, where almost everyone's playing football. So I had the soccer ball in the crib. I like to tell people.
There you go.
And I played all through as long as I could. I played club in college and played in men's leagues, but my career took me into actually television news, and I decided to leave that this year. And throughout my time, I've worked with clubs and professional teams across the country, wherever I was, and I've seen how things work. I've seen how things should work because I've seen it from the other side. I know what's demanded from the television perspective. So I had to figure out what I really wanted, and I wanted to get back to soccer. And I looked around, and I had actually reported on Corpus Christi FC going pro. And I'm like, wait a minute, I have a pro team right here in my backyard. Let me just see what they need. And I kind of just fell in and started running off with it. And I know a lot of what comes along with this, but it's still a learning process. I love to learn on the fly, and I think I'm pretty good at it. So that's what has been rewarding for me, and being able to help, because when we see that team take the field in March, it's going to feel so good.
And for someone who spent time in the local market over at Chris, you know that time is limited when it comes to storytelling, and you know that you've got to figure out ways to tell the story and not have it be pinned into a soundbite that's only 35 seconds or a package that's a minute 45. And you've got to get your story out, and having basically the opportunity to have that clean slate where you can just sit there and create and figure out how to get the messaging out all over the United States. That's got to be, I think it's comforting, because you're not pinned in by producers that sit there and say, weather went long, you got to cut, which happens a lot. And trust, it's like literally everything goes like this. If you're the sports anchor in a TV news situation, weather goes long on a sunny day, that comes out of your time, and you got to talk faster or cut some things. I know all about that stuff. So, I mean, it's got to be, I think, refreshing in a way that you can tell stories however you need to get the messaging out and not be encumbered by time constraints, especially when you don't have a whole lot of time to tell everybody, hey, we're starting in the spring. I need to get everything out there and blast it out there as much as possible.
Absolutely. That's what I sold Marissa on when I came on board, is I'm a great storyteller. And I'm finding different ways to do that now. And I love that my reach is farther, because that's always been my goal, is to be a storyteller at some level. But now that I get to do it with soccer is even better, because that's the one thing I think I know best in life, if you ask me. And we started small in the summer, and now we're playing around with a little bit of things now, but then we have some things planned for after the new year that we want to get going that might be a little bit more long form. So I can take that time and get everything right and be more creative and just explore with what we can get out there without losing people's attention.
All right. So Marissa, let me ask you this. What's the best story yet to be told involving Corpus Christi FC and heading into USL League One?
Ooh,
that's a good question.
That's a really good question. Wow, I have to think about that one.
Yet to be told. I think it's part of what we're going to work on. Telling the story about
getting
Corpus
our
Christi.
story out there. We're Eran and I are working on our story of Corpus Christi. We're putting together almost like a documentary about how we started and where we're going. And I think that's going to be one of the biggest things that comes to us here.
So you talked about looking at other clubs, and I do want to praise Portland Hearts of Pine in their first year. I think they did everything tremendously well.
They did very well.
We've seen their digital work, we've seen their social media work, their marketing, everything. I think they were on the right path, and they had that whole full year to prepare before their season. I think that's how they got it right. But definitely we're following a similar path. And I don't have any shame in looking at what other people are doing to get some ideas and then making it our own. That's part of life, and that's how we move forward.
All right. So Marissa, let me ask you this. What's the best thing that folks don't know about Corpus Christi and Corpus Christi FC?
Best person to ask.
We are a family-run organization. When you come to Corpus Christi FC, you are treated like family. Whether you are staff, whether you're a player, you come in and you get a love that you're missing from home, right? A lot of these players aren't able to go home. They're far from home. But when they come to us, they join a family. We're family owned. We're run by a local pediatrician. I tell everybody, I'm everybody's mom.
She really is. Coach was just saying how players he's spoken to from our USL2 clubs are saying how awesome she was to have for them away from home for the summer. And she just looked out for them at every turn.
That's strong. Obviously, you know that as things continue to grow, we're going to keep knocking on the door, especially as you guys get closer to match day one there, not just in USL League One, but they're at home and on the road. We're going to be keeping an eye on things as we go. Cannot thank you guys enough for spending a fantastic amount of time with us. I know that there's probably some brunch that's now going to happen, another cup of coffee that you got to slam in because you have this meeting coming up probably in about, 11 minutes?
We've got 2 meetings
back-to-back meetings today.
Yeah.
But thanks a lot, guys. We really do appreciate it. Once again, Marissa Trevino, Director of Ops, and Eran Hami, the Comms Director for Corpus Christi FC coming online in USL League One. Thanks for the education. Thanks for opening the door for us, and you know that we'll be knocking on it a lot, especially as we get into the 26th League One season. Can't wait to see how things continue to grow. Don't be a stranger. We'll catch up with you soon. Okay, guys?
Anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
There we go. That's Corpus Christi FC and the build. Seems like a theme today. You had the build with NWSL ATL, and then we have Eran and Marissa come in to talk about Corpus Christi FC. So builds, doesn't matter what league we're talking about. Does not matter. The build is somewhat the same in each and every place. It's just that taking those extra steps and making it your own, that's the hook in all of this. And so that's the fun part as we kind of get to catch up and find out about what's going on with all of these new teams and all of the leagues that are here in the United States. And what we have done is we've reached out to all of the new folks. If there's an announcement that gets made, we're jumping on it and we're going, hey, we want to find out about what's going on. And the fact that they have Eamon Zayed, and we spent a lot of time on Northern Colorado Hailstorm and what they were doing in USL League One. And Eran made that point about taking a club that was trying to figure out how they're going to pay their players. And I think I think Northern Colorado is now in the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen with another couple of franchises. But to take that situation that he was stuck with in Northern Colorado and have them chase after a Jägermeister Cup title with a franchise that was having problems paying their players speaks a lot to Eamon Zayed, speaks a lot to Corpus Christi, and to what they are trying to build in year one of their franchise. As we reminded them, they're coming online next season in USL League One. They've got, and Marissa made this point, they've got Thanksgiving, they've got Christmas, they've got training camp. And obviously, Iran's phone's been blowing up from all around the planet, understandably so, for a new opportunity with Dr. Kingsley Okonkwo, who is the owner of the franchise. The Eastern African nations, that to me is incredibly intriguing. I want to see what the tryouts look like. I want to see what the roster build look like. And I know that Eamon Zayed has a certain player in mind when it comes to it. But think about it. You're launching on the field in March. In 2 weeks, you got Thanksgiving. A month after that, you got Christmas. Traditionally, we know that ain't a whole lot getting done just in general between Thanksgiving and Christmas, except sitting there going, oh, crap, I forgot to buy a gift for somebody. So that's what you're staring at with a build for a club that is coming online on the field after the calendar year turns to 26. So the fact that, and I give Marissa and Eran full credit that they were as transparent as they were about this. And like I said, it was a point that I was trying to make with Tyler in hour number one about the notion of you see a number for a start date. That's a number for a start date. That doesn't get you from everywhere all the way back in row Z to the start date. That doesn't even mention all of that stuff that has to be your runway to get you to that day one. And the fact that they were as transparent as they were and as open and as outgoing as they were about the build, I give them full credit for that because, I mean, some folks, when it comes to their build, they don't want to sit there and give away any state secrets or anything like that. But you've got Corpus Christi coming into League One as a part of things, and we know that Texoma is leaving, so that takes out a natural rival for Corpus Christi this season. When Rodeo comes online in 2 years, in 27, that will be an initial natural rivalry for them. So you'd have Corpus Christi and Salina going at it. Traditionally, I think that might only happen when you go to Jerry World and you're in the UIL championships. But Corpus Christi and Salina will be going at each other in USL League One in a couple of years. So you're looking at the teams that are coming in. And we had this conversation. If you missed any of our previous conversations about the teams coming in, they're available on your favorite podcatcher, and you can catch up there. We caught up with Athletic Club Boise's head coach, Nate Miller, find out about what's going on there. with Boise coming online. We now can check Corpus Christi FC off the list. Fort Lauderdale United is coming in with a USL League One team off the heels of a Super League franchise. Fort Wayne is coming in online. The Cosmos are coming in. Port St. Lucie's coming in. Sarasota Paradise is coming in. Sporting Cascades is coming in. So the Northwestern element, and we were talking about it yesterday a little bit, the idea of having these regional rivalries and these regional hubs that are attached to USL League One. That's what they were looking for this entire time, is trying to get those hubs that were available where you had those regional rivalries and it wasn't something where you're spending $9 gazillion on travel in a year. So that's kind of what you were looking at when it comes to the addition of these franchises. And so now Corpus Christi kind of on an island a little bit. But when Salina comes in, you'll have that natural rival. But like I said, you're looking at right now, you're looking at Eugene, Spokane, Boise, AV Alta as your folks out west, as that continues to grow. Then once again, we mentioned the southeastern footprint where you have Charlotte, Greenville, Tormenta, One Knox, Chattanooga. Then you add in Naples and you add in Fort Lauderdale to that mix, eventually Port St. Lucie and Sarasota Paradise. So Florida's getting their own little hub. The Southeast is getting their own little hub. The Northwest is getting their own little hub. And now you're looking at the Southwest or deep Midwest with the addition of Corpus Christi and then Rodeo when it comes online, the former version of Texoma FC, Union Omaha being a part of that, going up and down. Then you look at, say, Ford Madison. And so you'd have those four there that are a part of the discussion over the next couple of years. But these teams coming in 26 in USL League One, Salina, Texas. It is Salina, Texas, Abby. It is where Texoma FC is. It's right there on the Oklahoma-Texas border. Sherman, Ada, Ardmore, Denison. And so then they had issues with the stadium and such. And so they're self-relegating to League Two, but now they're coming back in another market a little further south inside the state of Texas into a state-of-the-art high school football stadium. And I know that state-of-the-art high school football stadium in Texas. I mean, who knew, right? Celina, Celina, and so Celina High School, state-of-the-art high school football stadium, American football. So they're going to be anchored there. And they're also planning their own stadium, the whole live, work, play thing that we've gotten into when it comes to USL properties and expansion and all that kind of stuff. So Corpus Christi coming online. They're going to kind of be out on an island a little bit, but then they get to they get their sea legs and they get Salina as a rival and then figure out where they want to go from there. But it's great to catch up with them and find out where they are in their growth. And like I said, it was kind of a theme today that we kind of fell into with everything that was going on with NWSL ATL happening yesterday. So it was fun to catch up with them and get that education and find out what's going on. Let me say hi to everybody. I haven't had a chance to do that and let you know what's going on. So let's see. Morning, Alex. Morning, Dr. D. No, we do not have a team name yet. And Michael Head, season deposit in. Soon he'll have another team to complain about. Morning, Ricky. Greetings from Europe, I still believe, if I'm correct. Then let's see. So Dr. D, excited. Dr. D, get this. Dr. D says he's about to have his second daughter and would love to share the game with them. That's strong. I love that. Morning, David. Once again, yeah, David, we do. The late U17 red card on Sekiris for the U.S. in the next reffing down here. We definitely are going to talk about that, especially if it impacts what happens on the weekend involving the U17s and the knockouts. Frankly, I don't think it was, it should have been a red, but yeah. And the play-by-play guy, if you were watching the match after we went off the air, he was just as shocked that it went from yellow to red. And we'll see if, I imagine there's an appeals process in Qatar at the U17 World Cup. We'll see what that appeals process is and see if the U.S. get the red rescinded on Sakiris that happened late in the match. So right now he would not be available for the knockout game against Morocco on the weekend. Let's see. So, yeah, and so Ricky's daughter's turning 4 the year they start playing. Well, and Ricky was like, would we also be the 17s for this team too? I would say so. I think you're the 17s. I think you are absolutely the 17s. I think you're the 17s for this one, regardless of what the end name is, the end game on the end name. I think you're 17s. Literally, I think you call yourself 17s because your team's 17. That's a slam dunk for me. You're the 17s through and through. 17s for the Major League Soccer franchise because of the year you came in. 17s because you are the 17s for the MLS team, but at the same time the 17s because you're the 17th franchise in the NWSL. Slam dunk for me. You're 17s through and through. And like I said, and like we were saying when Tyler was on, no, 28s doesn't have the same quite ring to it. You're the 8s. You are the 8s. And I think a lot of folks may not fully realize what Mr. Blank and the Blank family have meant to this city and this area. I'm not just talking sports. When you are driving one of the interstates, for those of you that are not here in the metro Atlanta area, you're inside the perimeter and you're driving north on one of the interstate highways heading toward northeast Atlanta inside the perimeter. And you see the Arthur M. Blank family name attached to a children's hospital. And all of that property that was developed, and all of it used to be just 1970s office buildings, office parks, all of that converted to a children's hospital, state of the art. State of the art. A children's hospital attached to Arthur M. Blank and the Blank family. Yes, we look at the sports all the time, but you look at everything else that he has touched and what the Blank family has touched in this market. Revitalization of the West End and West Atlanta, which is something that has been near and dear to Mr. Blank ever since as far back as I can remember. Building and being a great corporate steward, giving back to the community multifold. We mentioned Children's Hospital. I mean, if we sat down and thought about everything that the Blank family has touched, dating back to the time that he and Mr. Marcus put on the orange smocks and started Home Depot. Going from there, creating this business empire, and then giving back the way that he has across the board. I said, not just sports, but what the Blank family has done over time has been astronomical to this footprint. And so, no, it is going to be fun to watch this build. But I think at times we may not necessarily remember that it is, when it comes to NWSL ATL, the embarrassment of talent-rich environments and talent-rich individuals that will absolutely make this state-of-the-art. You are going to be the bellwether and the shining example of everything in the NWSL with NWSL ATL now that it is officially official. And yes, once again, I spent an ungodly amount of money last night. I'm probably going to get the white sweatshirt for the boss come the holidays. Yeah, spent an ungodly amount of money last night on gear. And it won't be the first time either. So, morning, Dr. D. And let's see. So who else is here? Justin Blair goes train horns. So Justin wants it to be the train horns. I don't know if it would be something like this or not, but might be something close. Just something like that. By the way, that's in Montreal, by the way. That's the Montreal goal horn. But that was the closest thing I had to what we have in Atlanta on close notice. Let's see. So Justin wants the train horns. Alex is discussing his Magpies, Morning Catalucci. Yeah, and that's the thing. Dr. D, like I said, if you ask Jarrett what he's looking for, he wants the Athenas. Athena FC, Apollo's Athena, that kind of a thing. Jarrett is like Team Athena, like instantly. You get that one. You get that one there. So let's see. Morning, Atletico Pine Needles United, according to Justin. Pine Needles United. That might work in the fall. Let's see. So morning, Ricky. Yeah, I mean, and you mentioned Cindy Parlow-Cone. It's a full circle moment for her. I still have my Atlanta Beat golf shirt from version 1.0. It's a full circle moment for Cindy Parlow-Cone, who was here when the WUSA started, and they burned through 3 years of funds in the first year alone. So she knows what it means. She knows what it means, and to have that moment yesterday, I thought was really cool for her too. We'll try to catch up with her and see if we can pin Cindy Parlow-Cone down for a couple of minutes to ask about this. Morning, David. Morning, 4Card. And like I said, I'm buzzing through the timeline here. And Ricky, to the point about Sydney Martinez. Sydney Martinez came through the Tormenta system. We even forgot to mention about what Tormenta has been doing on the women's side with Tormenta W. And people in Minnesota were complaining about NWSL ATL. I think they still might be sore about the Aurora losing in the title game to Tormenta. Yeah, Ricky mentions that Sydney Martinez is from Rincon. Morning, Abby. So it's this has been stellar, and David doing the public service about the U17s. I went to the website, but like I said, just finding a bracket has been just the absolute, just most painful thing ever. So trying to find a bracket and all these kinds of things. Morning, Dell. I imagine, like I said, I imagine they can contest it, and I imagine that U.S. Soccer is going to. Have not heard if they have or not. But yeah, the red card on Sekiris, definitely something to keep an eye on for the weekend. Land supposed to be IKEA down the street from the training ground. Well, we are thinking that it's going to be on the property still. Just you're coming in from a separate entrance. We think that there's still land, and Tyler did the background on this, that there was land behind currently what is being used on the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground. All of that stuff, there's still land that can be cleared and converted. So we still think it's going to be, you make an easement, you have your road to go in that way, and so it's a second entrance, and the parking lot ends up being the center point where you have the women's training stuff on one side. Basically, if you're coming in for the men's side, if you've ever been there, the where the trees are in the backyard, that would be where we think it's going to be. Just create an easement, another road to come in a little further down on the parkway, and then you come in from a second entrance. And so the parking lot would be the midpoint. Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground up front, women's team, NWSL, ATL in the back. So that's kind of what we're thinking when it comes to that kind of stuff. But yeah, Abby, it was good to see you all last night. Great to see a lot of folks last night. Let's see. So David and Abby, yeah, and they've got adjacent land too. So, all right. So once again, reminder. Tomorrow, SDH PM. AM is the press conference involving the reintroduction of some gentleman that has the last name of Martino. You might remember him. So we'll be there for that. It's going to be all hands on deck. So no SDH AM in the morning. We will have an SDH PM involving Tata and Jason Stevens. We'll have that content for you, the economics of soccer. We got into that this morning too with the NWSL, with private equity and MCOs. So we'll have plenty to talk about with Jason coming up later today. We'll air that tomorrow. And also Friday, once again, Power Hour is hour number 2. It is Nino and Nico in the Power Hour from 10 to 11, and we'll find out what else is going on Friday. Probably keep an eye on the U17s as we go because of that start. We'll have that going on as we go. So that is Friday, and that is what's going on, and it was a great night for soccer in general in the United States last night as NWSL ATL is online for 2028. David wants the ruckus. Yes. Can you describe the ruckus, sir? That'd be epic. If they were the ruckus, yes. Can you describe the ruckus, sir? That'd be fantastic. All right. And so let me get into what's on TV. Yeah, the year is flying, Abby. That's absolutely true. Women's Champions League UEFA today, CBS Sports Network, 12:45 and 3. Bayern Munich, Arsenal, Atleti, and Juve, and that is being simulcast on ESPN Deportes. ESPN Plus has 5 matches in the Champions League. Barcelona, Leuven, Bayern, and Arsenal at 12:45. Man U, PSG, Atletico, and Juve, and Benfica and FC Twente are at 3. Paramount Plus is simulcasting all of those. All right, there you go. So light day for viewing, but it's Women's Champions League. Go watch. That's your note. Thanks once again to Eran Hami, the comms director, and Marissa Trevino, director of ops at Corpus Christi FC, for having symmetry for the show today. We spent a lot of time on NWSL ATL 2028, and we get to find out about the build in Corpus Christi for USL League One. So with the corporate symmetry that we had here on the show, it was bar none. Once again, back at it again, SDH PM tomorrow. We'll have all the thoughts about the Tata Martino press conference and all that, and we will continue to get you ready for the weekend. As always, thanks for dropping by here on SDH AM. It's the end of the show. Back in a little less than, well, actually more than 22 hours. It's going to be more like 28, like 28 or so. Time TBD, but think middle of the afternoon or late afternoon tomorrow, and we'll have a show for you on SDH PM about the reintroduction of Tata Martino as head coach. So see you in more than 24 hours. Since it's the end of the show, this means I get to do this, and yes, there is still drilling on. Play it safe, everybody. Mucha plata. We'll catch up with you soon.